Happy birthday, dear Aaron. Happy birthday. How many times have you heard that already?
We've done it 40 times this week.
Aaron Copland is 80 years old. Greetings pour in from dignitaries, artists, school children, and from his colleagues in the music world. In Washington, D.C., a press corps normally occupied with visiting heads of state turns its attention to a composer of music for the concert and theater stages.
I suppose the thing that I feel luckiest about is the fact that I was able to spend my life at music, in music, with music. Not everybody is so lucky. When I told my father I wanted to be a composer of concert music, he said, "Where did you get such a strange idea?" But he paid for the lessons. I think basically you compose because you want to somehow summarize in some permanent form your most basic feelings about being alive. Life seems so transitory that it seems very attractive to be able to set down in either words or tones or paint or some way some sort of permanent statement about the way it feels to live now, today, so that when it's all gone, people will be able to go to the artwork of the time and get some sense of what it felt like to be alive.
Okay, that's us. He's ripping us off.
From Washington, D.C., WQED Pittsburgh, in association with the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, presents the first in a series of special events. Tonight, Aaron Copland, Leonard Bernstein, Mstislav Rostropovich, and the National Symphony Orchestra with piano soloist Leo Smit in a Copland celebration. This evening's host is Hal Holbrook.
Good evening. Welcome to Kennedy Center and the first of our special programs, Fine Offerings from the Worlds of Dance, Music, and Drama, all performed in this, our National Cultural Center. On November 14th, 1980, an event occurred here which did honor even to so honored a place as Kennedy Center. In a celebration here in the concert hall, Aaron Copland, our nation's foremost composer, turned 80 years old. Since he began, Aaron Copland has been something of an exception in the world of music. The son of immigrant parents, he was born and raised in Brooklyn. He studied in Paris. With this background, he returned to the United States in 1924 and resolved to put the sounds around him into his music, the sounds of the cities and the sounds of the countryside. Quite an ambition for a young man whose ears rang with Brooklyn peddlers and Parisian conservatories. But that's what Copland wanted to do. And for reasons even he can't fully explain, and with this unlikely background, Aaron Copland has been the most successful composer at getting Americans to hear America in American music. Tonight, we'll hear his fanfare for the common man, his piano concerto, the movie music, Appalachian Spring, and the Lincoln Portrait, narrated by Mr. Copland himself. All of them have become American favorites. In his music is our country, devoid of politics, without sectionalism, just the ideal, standing proud and bold before the world. And that is why Leonard Bernstein, the National Symphony Orchestra, and its music director, Mstislav Rostropovich, and the President of the United States paid tribute on that November evening to our foremost American composer. From Kennedy Center tonight, a Copland celebration.
I have been asked to read this congratulatory letter to our beloved Aaron Copland from our beloved President Jimmy Carter. The White House, Washington, November 13th, 1980, to Aaron Copland. I am delighted to join with the National Symphony, with scores of your colleagues, and with your innumerable admirers in paying joyous tribute to you in celebration of your 80th birthday. Wherever music is played and loved, at home and abroad, among your fellow composers, among musicians, and among ordinary listeners, you are justly recognized as America's foremost composer. As an author, teacher, lecturer, pianist, conductor, and organizer of concerts for the promotion of contemporary music, especially by American composers, you have made unique contributions to American culture. But above all, it is for the beauty of the music you have given us that we praise, admire, and love you. We are proud to join in this fanfare for a most uncommon man. Sincerely, Jimmy Carter.
The fanfare for the common man was one of 18 fanfares commissioned from 18 different composers, but only Copland's found its place as an American favorite. Of course, this doesn't mean that everything he wrote was instantly accepted. Not at all. In fact, we're about to hear the second movement of his piano concerto, written in 1924 and absolutely murdered by the critics. Jazz was spreading around the country. Well, Copland heard it as an American sound, and true to his beliefs, he put it into his music. Jazz in a piano concerto. Almost to a man, the critics took him apart. A jazz dance hall next to a poultry yard, one of them said. But Copland wasn't interested in overnight success. He had the courage of his convictions. And his convictions were that this was our music for our ears, and it belonged in our concert halls. Seeing this gentle-looking, vulnerable man in rehearsal with the National Symphony and pianist Leo Smit, it's hard to imagine him weathering the onslaught of the press and the public. But he did.
From the 14, for the sake of that, poco a poco accelerando. Stay with the stick, please. 14. Yeah, that's slower. Yatta, da, 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 da. The accelerando is in the second half of the measure. 14. I don't remember the exact nature of the reviews of the piano concerto when first played in 1927 in Boston with the Boston Symphony. I was the solo pianist, but I remember there was an air of shock about them all. Watch the three-quarter measure, don't let it throw you. 25. Diminuendo. It caused a bit of an excitement in Boston because I made use of jazz elements. And in the 20s, you know, jazz was thought to be, well, okay in its place. But the attitude was, for heaven's sakes, what is it doing in Symphony Hall, Boston, as if we were playing jazz in church, you see. So that it was a shocker at the time. And I was highly amused and pleased. Again, that's a tough part. I keep hearing that performance in 1927 with the Boston Symphony. 3 measures before 46. Koussevitzky had never had any contact with jazz of any kind up to that point. It was a little strange. 3 before 46. I would have started conducting much sooner than I did, but my great friend Koussevitzky used to shake his finger at me and say, "You must not waste your time conducting. You must compose." And of course, I took him very seriously, and I didn't try to do any conducting. But as soon as he died, I began. It was really a suppressed passion. I think the trombone was in just a little too soon, yes. At 20, please. 20. It is a great joy to have a really fine orchestra at your command, so to speak, and to conduct your own music in a way that you dreamt it. I mean, it might not be as good as somebody else's interpretation, but nevertheless, it's the way you thought of it, or you get as close as you can to the way you thought of it in actual performance, and that, as I say, is a great pleasure.
The second and final movement of Aaron Copland's Concerto for Piano and Orchestra. The composer conducted the National Symphony Orchestra with pianist Leo Smith. Just a few years after the first performance of the concerto, with all of the brouhaha about poultry yards, it became another concert favorite. Copland had done it again. Like a parent leading a family of stubborn children, he forced us to listen, and sure enough, we started to like what we heard. As far as Copland was concerned, this was the sound of America. If we'd only be quiet and listen for a minute, we'd hear it too. Aaron Copland didn't invent an American sound, of course not. He helped develop an American ear to hear it with. He used what he heard going on around him, sometimes with astonishing results. In 1944, he wrote music for a ballet choreographed by his good friend Martha Graham. Graham was doing in American dance and theater what Copland was doing in music. By this time, she'd so enlarged the vocabulary of expressive dance movement that she created her own style. and her own school to teach it in. Well, that was an immortal collaboration. From it issued two great works of the American stage. Graham's most famous choreography, some of which we'll see in this rare film which features her dancing, and Copland's most beloved music. Both were eloquent expressions of the strength, piety, and simple traditions of our country's roots. Copland used an old Shaker hymn called Simple Gifts for part of the score, subtitled Ballet for Martha. This was the genesis of Appalachian Spring.
Well, I knew Miss Graham not only as a performer and a choreographer, but also I knew her personally. And she has a very striking personality. You don't forget her. Very personal to herself, of course. And when she asked me to write this ballet, it had no title. She gave me an outline of what was going to happen in it, and of course the nature of the dances, the characters that they were going to portray. But as I say, it had no specific title, so that when many times people have said to me, when they hear the music and see the ballet, they can just see the Appalachians and feel spring. But the fact of the matter is that when I wrote the music, I didn't know anything about the Appalachians. I wasn't thinking about either spring or the Appalachians. I was thinking about Martha Graham and her style of dancing. I think most people who watch her ballets are very aware of the fact that it's very personal to her, the style of dancing that you see on the stage, and the nature of the ballets that she produces with her dances. So that it was comparatively easy to write a score for her because her style and her personality is so marked. In a way, I was not thinking about the Appalachians of Spring, I was thinking about Martha and putting her and her style of dancing to music.